As the nation finds itself in mourning for renowned epidemiological researcher and president of the Portlatin Communist Society, Maureen Heedle, the BBC Archival Department has teamed up with Blue Peter to offer an unprecedentedly candid insight into the life of a national icon. Maureen was born in 1965 in Canterbury to a Moldovan librarian and a farrier to the Earl of Kent. However, soon after her birth, a leaking bottle of surgical anaesthetist's ether resulted in a slight clerical error in the maternity ward. Subsequent clerical errors at the post office, the Trans-Pennine Railway Service, and a fishing trawler meant that Maureen was to spend her formative years in the Outer Hebrides, where she eked out a living shanking seasonal mainland tourists with a whittled oyster and stealing their jackets. Initially, life was difficult for young Miss Heedle. Surviving on a thin stew of barley and jacket, she was struck by a Zephyr-bound newspaper at the age of 9, which imprinted her with a deep logophobia that hampered her academic progress and left her with a lifelong inability to solve capture checks or navigate via signpost. However, despite her flagging capabilities in the humanities, she was soon to find her true calling in the sciences. Excelling in the lab and minoring in phrenology, she pursued a bachelor's degree at the University of Orkney and showed a remarkable aptitude for applied chemistry, a talent she would later refine in the wholesale production and merchandising of crack heroin to workers on oil rigs. It was at this time that she met her husband, with whom she had a working relationship holding up Greg's Bakeries to acquire poppy seeds for her illicit homemade goodies. Together, they held up over 350 stores and were a major factor in what meteorologists later came to call the Winter of Seedless Buns in 1994. In 2015, years of activism culminated in Maureen being arrested for sending parcels containing dead marsupials and jellified petroleum to members of the SNP that she felt were directly responsible for the failure of the independent Scotland referendum. Scandalous rumours of a torrid relationship between the defendant and the judge would abound in printed press, as he reduced her sentence from life without possibility of parole to community service in the University of Aberdeen's Remedial Epidemiology Department. Maureen quickly ingratiated herself with her new colleagues, working tirelessly to translate recorded interviews from Sutherland and Caithness to legible English. Of particular note was the February of 2019, when she successfully filled in for the entire rest of the department, who went on maternity leave simultaneously, and was rewarded a Thistley cider for her heroic efforts. Unfortunately, the good times were not to last. The spiralling cost of hair dye drove Maureen back to her old ways, and it was in the sweltering summer of 2024 that she became involved in a 3-day police standoff in a Pret-a-Manger. Accidentally igniting the pasty oven, Miss Heedle's adventures ended with a leaking gas, much in the same way they had ultimately begun. Despite her checkered past, her reputation as a folk hero was well-founded, and, after being found posthumously not guilty on all charges, she is to be buried in St. Magnus Cathedral on the Orkney Islands where she once roamed, and, as per her will, the furthest cathedral from the resting place of Margaret Thatcher. So join us next time as we highlight more exemplary threads that make up the rich tapestry of life in Britain.